presentation, explain some things in addition to what you have in the schedule, about details of the importance of this basal source of water for the municipal needs in Kona. So just introduce Keith Okamoto and hand it over to you, Keith.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm Keith. I'm the deputy at the Department of Water Supply, and actually I'm going to hand it over to Kurt. And then we'll follow up if there's any questions or some additional information that we can provide to you folks. But with that, here's Kurt, our engineering division head at the department.
Hi. Anyway, this is our Keauhou shaft. It was started in construction in 1975 when the state saw basically the need for the additional source to be developed for projected growth in Kona. So prior to this construction, there were 4 wells constructed just south of here. Keauhou wells, also basal sources. So anyway, in 1977, this shaft was complete, construction was complete. However, I think they already knew at the time chloride levels were in the 200 to 300 range, or we're going to be in the 300 range. We have the intent then to blend that water with a little bit better Keauhou well water. It's a little bit more Mauka. The chlorides are a little lower up there. It was intended to provide up to 10 million gallons a day for the future demand. However, I think we've gone up to a little over 6 million gallons a day. And we, knowing the chloride issues that we do have, didn't really pursue increasing the capacity. So we don't have all of the pumps set down there. We have, I believe, 4. We only use 3 of them at any one time. So we pump currently about 4 million gallons up through here to provide some of that water. And it's still the major source for our Kona system.
Basically what this is, it differs from our other sources because this is, as you can see, an inclined shaft rather than a deep well. So basically we're at approximately 570-foot elevation here. And this goes down about 1,100 feet plus at an incline. Some other challenges we have with operations and maintenance is due to the age of this, what we call a elevator. There's just been some mechanical issues. So as you can see, there's a pump gallery down there. Sorry, we can't take you guys down because of the condition of this piece of equipment. But basically, there's a gallery down there where the pumps are located. There are 2 tunnels that were dug. And basically, the design was to pump that fresh water off the top of the water and boost it up here. So I think it was a project with good intentions. Unfortunately, at this point in time, it's given us some challenges, let's put it that way. But like Kurt said, this is still a major source for us, so we still need to maintain it. But we are focusing more of our efforts on developing the wells up Mauka and the infrastructure that's required to make use of those sources.
Anyway, yeah. So maybe I wanted to add too that basically through the 80s, this was the Keauhou wells and this shaft was basically our only source. Kamehameha Schools, I believe, was the ones in the early 90s that discovered the high-level water. And it's in Keauhou, above here also. So since then, basically, all of our efforts really have been focused on developing that high-level source. So.
I just also wanted to point out, since we're here, is that the department depends on HELCO quite a bit for our pumps. And recognizing that when we have opportunities to do so, we're trying to recover some of that. So out there's a hydro generator, basically generating enough electricity to save us approximately 60 grand a year on site because we can use that power directly on this particular piece of property. So we get dollar for dollar return on that. We have another one on Hinalani Street. Unfortunately, that one, we can't use the power on site, so we have to sell it back to the utility. 50 cents on the dollar approximately. But just some ways we're trying to reduce our dependency on Helco as well.
The actual gallery that's trying to skim, yeah, to the top of the aquifer is located what, just under the highway, Malta or Makai under the highway?
Mouth of the highway. I believe it's just mouth of the
So you
highway.
came down,
Yeah.
the water's really being taken, a little bit more Malta, but still in the basal aquifer.
Yeah.
Trying to skim the fresh water.
So, I mean, if there's no other questions, what we wanted to afford the commissioners, at least first off, is the opportunity.
I got a question.
Oh, sure.
You know, from when I was the chair of the water board, I know one of the strategies that the department was pursuing, because source was getting high in chlorides, and Brenda Ford used to always come and talk about how the water was getting worse. So what you've done is you've tried to obtain other Malta perched high-level sources, so you can take less water
Yeah.
from this
Yeah.
side. And you found that your chlorides have decreased in your customer base, right?
Yeah, actually,
Overall.
part of our presentation this afternoon, Kurt's going to talk about, you know, there's quite a bit of investment that the department, our water board, needed to make to address this particular situation in this water quality here. And one of them was one of our largest CIP projects to date, our Palani transmission project. Approximately close to $12 million was just for that project alone. And we found almost immediate results down in Kailua town when we were able to put that online and utilize the high-level source water and get it down to the town. We saw improvements in chlorides in the town very quickly.
And I guess my point then was going to be, if the aquifer is designated, you're going to be prevented from developing those sources that are proposed but aren't existing. So you're going to have to continue taking this water that was having the higher chloride impacts. Right?
Yeah, well, that's our
Yeah.
understanding. You know, we're going to be stuck with what we got.
Yeah.
Sounds like, you know, and then we're going to have to, I guess, submit permits for what we got before we can consider adding to
So
that.
the time period required for the CWRM to go through all the existing well-use permits will have to occur before you can pursue well-use permits on these undeveloped proposed sources.
I'm
That's
not-
our understanding.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You could pursue it, you could get well construction permits. It's just that you don't have any
Can-
guarantee.
For the water use permit.
For the water use permit. So
Oh.
you could, it's just a little bit more risky.
Yeah, just realistically, you know, we don't have that much extra money to just spend money and maybe if we can somewhere down the road use it. So yeah, we probably wouldn't take that approach.
And because of that uncertainty, that's why you guys made the decision that if aquifer is designated, you're not going to issue any more water meters in North Kona, right?
Right. Based on our understanding at this point, yeah, so I guess, you know, that's out there now. That's what we have stated. Just to be conservative, because we don't know what will happen after designation. So, you know, we figure we take that approach versus offer some promises that we couldn't keep down the road.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Question. So, just so I got my numbers right, the state developed the shaft, turned it over to the county. It was anticipated they would produce 10 million gallons.
Yeah.
But then, when you looked at it, the chlorides was elevated. You guys thought it was responsible to only pump out 4, but it has a capacity for 6. And then, therefore, you diversified and tried to spread out pumpage. And with the discovery of high-level water, you thought it was a better investment and better water quality and better for the environment to use that water rather than just pump it from one source where you know there was a chance that it would get more salty.
Right, mainly for consumptive purposes, we do, you know, feel that the high-level water is much better, you know, in terms of
Actually,
quality.
If I could, I'd like to acknowledge our former manager.
Yeah.
Because that was a priority under his leadership. That we wouldn't wait and just rely on this, knowing that.
I cannot promote you anymore.
That's why, so you know, this is honest. As hard as it is. No, but no, really. And we from Milton's time, we knew that we needed to address this situation. And, you know, we don't need another layer of regulatory processes to tell us to do the right thing, I guess, basically, is what we're trying to say. Anyway,
I got,
sure.
Yeah.
what level of investment is the board taking to manage the upland watersheds that are providing water?
Well, we've now gone through identifying just I guess as the aquifer as a whole, right, as being, I guess, as a sensitive area. So we are updating the water use and development plan. We do have a lot new data that we can use, because what was used to develop that was limited in terms of current data. So we have a lot of updated information that we can apply and hopefully give better projections, make better decisions. And we've also started a study to see if we can find any direct link from pumping the high-level water to see if there's any adverse effects or any kind of impacts to the basal lands. We're trying to find, utilize our high-level wells as well as wells in the basal lands that are relatively kind of immediately down gradient of them. Yeah.
Like no level investment to manage the aquifers that are providing the water.
Well, actually, no. Well, there's a couple of things going on. You're talking about watershed protection type activities. Actually, I think Mr. Isla can probably speak more on that regard. But I know there's a watershed protection program. On top of that, we're working with State Department of Health. I know there's Dan Chang
Dan
out
is
there.
out there.
Dan's helped get us 200 grand for source water protection. So we're utilizing those funds more along the lines of education rather than regulatory processes. We want to educate our customers and our children to properly protect the resource versus put out more laws and rules to mandate that. As far as other investments, we've invested, I think, close to 40 mil in infrastructure improvements since recognizing that this shaft needed to be relieved. And for us, that's huge. I mean, our entire operating budget is only about 50 mil. So to spend 40 mil in capital improvements in one water system, this is just one water system for us. To spend that amount of money for us is quite a feat.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yep.
So I think you mentioned that this is running about 300 parts per million, which is a little bit too salty for potable standards. What was it originally when this was first put into service?
It was in the 200s, basically not pumped. So I anticipated, I guess before the state even turned it over to us, really, it was anticipated that it would be 200 to 300 in that range. So they already anticipated it again. So we invested in a pipeline to blend that Keauhou well water. We had to bring that line down here, and the Keauhou well water is blending with this shaft water right here and going into this tank. But again, that's a basal source too. So, you know, the chlorides aren't way down there like the high level water.
Are you in equilibrium now, and how much are you pumping to maintain that? I assume you're maintaining 300 parts per million.
Actually, it has climbed a bit. It has climbed
fluctuates
a bit.
though.
So, you know, that's why we know we need to really reduce the pumping at this source and let the source recover, I guess, back to equilibrium. I think we're above 300 right now as far as parts per million in chlorides.
Do you have a feel for what you think would be equilibrium pumping level?
Our long-term goal is to get it so we pump zero out of here. Yeah.
So in other words, spread it out like they did in EL after designation there to get rid of the shaft 33 and spread it out.
Yeah, well, we're spreading it out now.
Yeah.
So we actually want to actually eliminate our dependence on this source. Again, there's just various challenges. One is maintenance. Our pumps and motors, when they need to be replaced, need to ride on that dinosaur cart over there. And because of the issues and the challenges we've had with this particular equipment, you can't even get parts for it, so they have to be custom made. It's quite a chore.
I mean, it's just a donkey motor. It seems like this should be something real easy to
Yeah, I don't know, we've done a lot of investigation trying to find the parts to it. Sorry, it's here, we got like our inspection, you may need all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And rules don't get any easier. Typically, you're talking about OSHA, confined space, you're talking about safe drinking water branch, sanitary survey requirements, all things like that, procurement requirements. Let me tell you, it doesn't get easier for government to do maintenance nowadays.
It is an open gallery.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So explain to them the relationship of the high level to the good basal water here. You know, the Keauhou high level is the lowest of all the high level compartments. It's only 40 feet. So that leakage is what's giving this area some reasonable amount of basal water.
Yeah, I think there was quite a bit of talk on that on the last Kona Water Roundtable. So, I think there was a full discussion by Don Thomas, and to be honest, that one kind of went. Phew. But you know, we know there's some kind of connection, and Milton is right on this side. The static water level is lower than what we see at Honokohau and QOT area. Exactly how it works, we're not sure. So like Kurt mentioned, we're working on a study with ComNats to do some continual monitoring of not only static water level in the high level, but drawdown and recovery rates. And then I believe we're also going to try and monitor, we're trying to find a pair, high level and down gradient basal, to see if when we pump this high level, what kind of reaction we're getting at the down gradient one. So I think with that, we'll be able to provide Roy folks, hopefully, with some information that will help educate everybody.
Just for information, the high level water, it goes all the way from 405 feet above sea level to 40 feet, which is just Malka right up here. So from 40 feet, varies all the way to 405 feet.
And I think,
It's all different compartments.
yeah, I think you talk basically what is, you're talking basically about that line we're looking at from the north end to the south end, approximately around the 1,700 foot level or so. So if you went from the north end to the south end, along there you drill, it doesn't mean you're going to hit the high level water at the same elevation.
Yeah. So again, yeah, I think we're all in agreement that we can get more information so people can get a better understanding. This is not black and white by any means, just the geology of this place, that's for sure. I think there was an inclination, but that didn't stop us from doing what we were doing. It's just that when it did happen, then a lot of our resources needed to be pulled from our day-to-day responsibilities. Yeah. So we're still planning on it. We're hoping in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So what we have right now is we have 12 sources. We have 12 sources in this aquifer system, in our North Kona water system. 6 of those are high level. 6 are in the basal. So we had programmed in our CIP, our next 5-year CIP, another Kona source development. We wasn't sure exactly where that was going to go, but that was also in line with that, long-term plan to reduce our reliance on this particular source. Along with that, we had also programmed, and we have public-private partnerships as well. So if somebody needs to do something and they need to provide infrastructure and it works in our long-term plan, we'll pay to upsize if it can fit into our overall long-term system plans. So we recognize also a need to improve our transmission of Malka to make use of the high level and get it to where it needs to go. So there's some other things that we're working on in what we call the Waiaha corridor to bring more of that Malka level water down to Makai. And that we have on the books for work.
Well, that actually might get turned over to us by the end of the year. So we're hoping to see another segment of the Kailua area, or actually further south, improve in water quality. And that, when that comes down, it'll blend in with the water that's being provided from the wells, from the basal wells basically, or basal sources in Queen K. And whatever we can supply there, we can directly reduce from here.
Yeah, right now we have a slight bottleneck of Malka.
Yeah.
Could
from where you stand right now,
Yeah.
how long before you stop pumping this?
I'd hope within, like he's saying, within our next maybe 20 years. I'm really
So
hoping.
maybe in 20 years.
We're hoping, yeah. So we know we got to reduce it. That's the first thing. We can reduce it. It still will probably be needed until then as backups, until we have enough infrastructure. Because when a well goes down up there, we got to pull up basically 1,700 feet of pipe columns. And I think maybe if you had the agenda, there's some pictures of one of our high-level sites, and you'll see all of that pipe column that basically has to go down. So the motor in those deep set wells basically is coupled with the pump and goes down the hole. So when that goes, we have to take the whole thing out, get it repaired, then we got to send the whole thing back down.
How much are you spending per year on source development?
Well, this source development, I'd say about, my guess would be about $1 million maybe a year, but it's really island-wide, yeah. Island-wide.
How about on monitoring wells?
We don't do monitoring wells.
Yeah.
If we drill, it's to pump water. Yeah.
Mike,
Oh, sorry.
maybe 20 years from now, what do you think what would you use this for? Education or?
It could be.
Have we closed down other wells before? What is that?
We have. We've got to talk to, again, Roy, yes, the mission on abandoning so-called a source, if and when we get there. It may still, again, be in existence purely as a backup. One of my thoughts, even in the Keauhou wells, is as we reduce our dependency, we can maybe replace them with a little smaller pumps so that it won't have maybe as much of an upconing effect, yeah?
Reduce that upconing potential,
Yeah.
put a lower capacity well.